Joining me now, FBI whistleblower, senior fellow at the Center for Renewing America, and author of the book True Blue, My Journey from Beat Cop to Suspended FBI Whistleblower, which you can pre-order now. Our friend, Steve Friend, is back with us. Steve, great to have you back on. Steve, what do you make of this new whistleblower coming forward and saying, hey, if we talked about January 6th or anything that didn't fit the narrative of FBI brass, we could be fired?
I think it's a double corroboration. One, for my own experience, where essentially the agency canceled me and others like me who expressed reasonable concerns that we might be departing from the rules and that we might be putting the public at risk with our conduct. And secondly, it confirms what the Durham report and what John Durham spoke about during his hearing this week, where there was a confirmation bias problem within the FBI. And certainly no policy changes or training that went to the rank and file is going to suffice at this point. It's reached all the way to the deputy director's level. And we're going to have some actual accountability. People are going to have to be removed from their positions.
Steve, you agreed with this whistleblower originally. This was mainly you coming forward a lot on the January 6th stuff. Is that correct?
Yes, precisely. This was an individual who was actually in it from the beginning. I was brought in several months later when I was transferred over to work on domestic terrorism. But this whistleblower was privy to these conversations that were happening in February. So you're talking about within 30 days of the incident, sitting on these daily, sometimes twice daily phone calls that were going out nationwide. And the fact that there was that many people on those calls, and Abate felt comfortable saying that people needed to find a new line of work if they were going to be using their critical thinking skills, I think is enormously problematic for the agency.
What was your biggest problem with the way the FBI was handling January 6th?
Well, twofold. First and foremost, the FBI has manipulated the stats, and they've opened up separate cases for every single person. So it should be one case, but now they've created this illusion that there's thousands of domestic terrorists around the country, and that's frankly not true, and it's tied to compensation for the senior executives. They get bonuses for hitting their quota marks. And secondarily, there's a risk to the public safety. In my office, there was an individual who was charged with a crime who had pledged to be cooperative, but we were still going to send a SWAT team to his house to arrest him. And I felt that that was an unnecessary show of force. It was putting his safety at risk. It was putting our personnel's safety at risk. It was like being the guy in the room the day before Waco. And it was incumbent on me to throw the flag that we might be out of line.
In other cases, I'm sure you had people that said, hey, yes, I'll turn myself in, I'll cooperate, I'll do that. Do you send SWAT teams to those places?
Historically, no. The FBI has always used the least amount of force necessary, and I certainly never had to use SWAT to arrest any of the subjects that I arrested, and I arrested 150 violent criminals in my time in the FBI. But now we're seeing these large-scale arrest operations or SWAT operations used, and it's basically a make the process the punishment. Look at Mark Houck in Philadelphia. He was accused of a crime. He was charged with a crime. He pledged to surrender himself, but still we're going to send a dozen agents with their body armor and slung carbine rifles to go and arrest him just to make the point.
All right, let me play a soundbite from Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's been a big defender of the January 6 defendants. Roll that.
The federal government should never be weaponized against the people and set up honeypots and traps to draw people in and actually take part in making these people commit crimes and then framing the people to set up a narrative against a president. It's wrong. And I believe that's what happened on January 6th.
Steve Friend, do you believe that there were some January 6ers who were actually framed by the FBI?
They may have been, but I think at the very least you can definitely say that the FBI has weaponized these crimes and broadly interpreted them to bring additional charges on individuals. So let's say somebody actually committed a righteous misdemeanor offense. The fact that the FBI and the DOJ are reinterpreting an Enron law to tack a felony on top of it is inexcusable. I mean, that's a law that was drafted to stop accountants from shredding documents, but we're going to say that it applies to somebody who walked into the Capitol building to redress their grievances in accordance with their First Amendment rights. And we're seeing that that same law has been applied to Donald Trump now.
Yeah. Last question for you. We see this other whistleblower come forward. There's been a few of you from inside the FBI. We now see a couple from the IRS coming forward. How challenging is it to get more to come forward? And do you believe there are more agents like you inside the FBI that maybe would like to come forward but are too afraid to do so?
There certainly are people that are in place, and they continue to provide me information almost every single day that I've been able to come out with. I think that it's almost like trying to break a giant stone with a hammer. You might have to hit it 1,000 times. That doesn't mean the 999 times you hit it before it broke, that those strikes didn't matter. And I think that we're finally starting to see some crumbling around the edges, and eventually we're going to have many more people come forward because they're just not happy with the way the agency has gone.
Well, you would take large responsibility when that happens, because you are leading the way, sir, and I appreciate that on getting the truth out there. Steve Friend, as always, it's great having you on the program.
Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.